LaVar Arrington, I wanted to get your thoughts on this because I think it's kind of interesting. And you've got to admire the level of pettiness and the grudge that is still existing between Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson. So it was announced a couple of days ago that Jimmy Johnson will be going into the Miami Hurricanes Ring of Honor. I mean, as he should. Talk about one of the more popular college football teams or teams, period, in the world of sports. There was a culture that existed with Miami Hurricane football back in the day when Jimmy Johnson that he was there that was absolutely fantastic. And a lot of people nationally, I think, grew up Miami Hurricane fans just based on the team, the vibe around the team. I loved the Miami Hurricanes growing up. Like, they were so much fun to watch. And so Jimmy Johnson is going to be honored, and he's going to go into the Ring of Honor, yet he's still not in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. And it's not like it's a players-only thing that, Gil Brandt is in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. Like, there's some other, Tex Schramm, Tom Landry. Like, there's some other people that are there that aren't players that are in the Cowboys Ring of Honor. And it just goes to show you the level of pettiness and the grudge that Jerry Jones still holds against his former coach, Jimmy Johnson.
He got NFL Hall of Fame. Like, he's an NFL Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
So at this point, it only makes Jerry Jones look like that he's kind of still harboring, hard feelings towards that scenario. And I can relate to that. I'm one of the 90 greatest Washington Commanders, and I have probably more Pro Bowl appearances than some of the people up in the Ring of Fame or Ring of Honor that they have, and I'm not up in there. It doesn't, and I'm not even a Hall of Famer at the pro level, but that doesn't bother me. I don't think that Jerry Jones bothers Jimmy Johnson at this point. He's had a successful post-coaching career. He's got a lot of stability, a lot of respect, and a lot of people believe to this day that Jerry Jones messed things up by messing with Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah. And
they've never really recovered from that, that time period. So, owners catch a lot of flack for things that they do in some instances. Players, coaches alike, they catch a lot of flack in other instances, in some other cases. I think this situation here is like an easy sit and done. Should he be in the Ring of Honor? 100%. He's one of the most historical figures outside of Switzer and Landry to coach the team. And if you wanted to say it would be difficult to mess up winning a Super Bowl with the personnel that they had back then, I would challenge you to look at some of the personnel teams that they've assembled since that time. And you could almost argue in some cases and in some regards, maybe that receiver was more athletic or had a higher upside than Michael Irving. Maybe you had a tight end that was going to be a better tight end than Jay Novacek. Now, I'm not going to say you had a better line than their line. I think their line of scrimmage is arguably one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, you could stack them up against a couple other offensive lines, maybe the Reds, when they were that formerly known as the Commanders.
That's when they became an elite team, when that line was pieced together and Stepnoski and all those guys. When that happened, it completely changed the course of the franchise. They were awesome, that offensive line, and sometimes doesn't get as much credit as maybe they deserve.
I mean, I know Emmitt Smith and Moose Johnson gives them all the credit in the world, and so does Troy Aikman, except for when I was out there with him. But with that being said, there's no reason for this to be such a tremendously large conversation because everyone knows the importance that Jimmy Johnson played in his time in Dallas. So, I mean, if you got hard feelings, have hard feelings, but don't hold that against somebody who has – the accomplishments are still the accomplishments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would make sense to the fans. It would make sense for them to honor him in that way. Again, like I said, it only reveals how you're looking at things, because he's already in the Hall of Fame for the NFL as a whole. So he's good enough to be an NFL Hall of Famer, which is hallowed ground, but he's not good enough to be in your Ring of Fame.
So I think I know when this is going to happen.
Okay.
All right. I believe that Jimmy Johnson will get into the Cowboys Ring of Honor if the Cowboys win another Super Bowl, because it's got to be far enough removed to where he's got nothing to do with it, because Jerry Jones is so hung up on it. And you can go back to, well, he did it with Barry Switzer, and that was after Jimmy Johnson left. But I think everybody acknowledges, to your point, that was still Jimmy Johnson's team. That culture there, and it's not to diminish anything that Barry Switzer did. It's still tough to win a Super Bowl, obviously. It's rarefied air itself. But I think Jerry Jones deep down feels like, I've got to get another one, and I've got to get another one far enough removed from Jimmy Johnson. And I don't think Jimmy Johnson is going to be acknowledged in the Ring of Honor until Jerry Jones feels comfortable and doesn't feel insecure when talking about the Cowboys as Super Bowl champions, when Jimmy Johnson's got nothing to do with it and no fingerprints on the roster build at that point.
But even if they do accomplish winning a Super Bowl, there's always going to be something. Like, there's no getting out of the way of it.
Like,
I mean, the accomplishment is the accomplishment.
Shaq and Kobe wanted to win it without the other one desperately. So when Shaq did it, first thing he did was take a shot at Kobe. When Kobe did it and then got another one above Shaq's 4, first thing he did was take a shot at Shaq in the post-game press conference. Like, I feel like that's where these two are at, and I don't think Jerry Jones is going to acknowledge Jimmy Johnson in the Ring of Honor until he gets one far enough removed without him, because he's that competitive and that petty about the whole thing. Well, it's fascinating.
To me, if that's the case, if that is truly the case after all these years, then you would have to say there are some issues that he would need to address in his life, because you're winning at the most massive. He's a billionaire. And I know they say that money doesn't buy happiness. Yes, it does. Money does buy happiness. I'm sorry. Like, I've been broke and I've had money, and I'm much happier when I have money. Like, it is what it is. And for what that's worth, like, yes, once you have money, you have to figure out other things that maintain your happiness or build your happiness. Like, for me, it's helping others. Like, I love helping others. Like, Jerry, don't worry about if you win a Super Bowl without Jimmy Johnson. Like, how irrelevant is that? Look at how much your franchise is worth. Look at what you've built. Look at what your impact has been on the National Football League. Damn, a Super Bowl. Your impact on the league has been almost as epic, if not more epic, than any other owner to ever own a team in the National Football League. You're winning on a different level. Like, why even lower yourself to feeling like I have to prove to myself and to the world that those Super Bowls that we won with Jimmy Johnson's team was not like I can do it too. Like, bro, you made the entire Shield more valuable.
Yeah.
You have made the entire league mean more. You have delivered teams to markets that they couldn't even figure out how to get it done. Yeah, this is how we're going to do it. This is who's going to be the owner. We're going to get them there. Boom, 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 boom. Done. SoFi. Like, this is Jerry Jones. Like, what are you worrying about the Super Bowl for?
And also, if you're Jerry Jones, start off small. Start off something reasonable. You want to see progress on your path to a Super Bowl. Just try getting to a conference championship game for the first time in 30 years. You know, I mean, like, you got to start small.
That's cold-blooded. See, you needling right now. You're kicking a man while he's down. That's cold-blooded.
Listen, I'm trying to keep expectations where they're supposed to be. The fact that you haven't been to a conference championship game since the mid-90s.
I mean, you ain't lying. But you're not telling an inaccurate deal here.
I mean, listen, there are two teams in the NFL that are the butt of a lot of jokes over the years. It's the Jaguars and the Jets, and both of them have been to multiple conference championship games, and the Cowboys haven't been since the mid-90s.
You are funny.
I'm just saying.
You are flaming them now.
So maybe if you can get to that point and you hang up an NFC championship appearance banner up at
and
the
then what
Jerry Dome.
happens?
Maybe
you make it to the Super Bowl. You win a Super Bowl. What happens next? Does Jerry Jones die? Does he like poof disappear into thin air? Like what happens?
It's going to get to the point where when he does finally invite Jimmy Johnson to be honored, Jimmy Johnson's going to be like, "Nah, I'm good."
Is it correct to say that when they grab it would be incorrect to say what Jerry Rice did when Steve Young finally won his Super Bowl after Joe Montana left? Would that be incorrect to do what they did to Steve Young?
Oh, just like take the monkey off the back. Like all the pressure. All
you just going to run right into it, huh? You're going to run right into that burning building.
Because I knew I would clarify it.
Finally grab the monkey off of his back.
I knew I'd be able to.
Well, who the hell is the monkey? What's the name of that monkey that was on his back?